folks, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. I have an article here from Arizona Sheriff Deputy tackles a 15-year-old boy with, drum roll, no legs and no arms. That's right, folks. I stated it's breaking news. The Arizona Sheriff tackles a 15-year-old boy with no legs or arms. Pima County Sheriff's Office in Arizona will conduct an internal investigation after the deputy was caught on cell phone video tackling a 15-year-old boy with no arms or legs, an incident that the local public defender calls unconscionable and horrific. The 8-minute video, first reported by news media in Arizona, shows the boy yelling at the sheriff's deputy, pins him to the kitchen floor inside a Tucson group home, restraining the quadruple amputee. The incident was recorded by another boy at the group home whose head was later pushed into a wall. These are boys who are already traumatized. That's why when they're in a group home, these are children who society has discarded and left behind. For them to be assaulted by an armed deputy with a badge and a gun, the personification of the very organization that is meant to protect and serve them, is absolutely terrible. The incident took place on September 26th after an employee at the group home called law enforcement to report that the 15-year-old Emmanuel had knocked over a trash can. Firemen said Emmanuel was in state custody because he was abandoned by a family, was upset over a recent incident. The deputy who responded to the call apparently found that Emmanuel was disturbing the peace and restrained him, according to firemen. A 16-year-old who lives at the home then started recording the incident from a nearby room while he ate a bowl of cereal. The video shows the deputy, who is white, crouching on the floor and putting a headlock around a shirtless Emmanuel, who is black. The boy becomes agitated, loudly pleading with the officer to let him go. The deputy seems to loosen his grip, and Emmanuel tries to get away. That's when the law enforcement officer tackles him, bringing him to the floor by a refrigerator and pressing down his body weight. The boy can be heard yelling. The deputy eventually allows Emmanuel to get up and asks the boy if he has a problem. The boy responds that he does not have a problem, but after a brief back and forth, the deputy raises his voice and appears to become angry. The deputy shouts, "I will raise my voice to you whenever the fuck I want to. You understand?" CJ then interjects, "Hey, you just asked him a question and he answered." The deputy yells back at CJ, "Shut the hell up." The officer orders the 16-year-old to go back into his room, but the boy responds that he's finishing his cereal and isn't allowed to eat in his room. The deputy approaches CJ, orders him to stay out of the situation, and yells at him again to shut the hell up. The boy tells the officer to get out of my face. The deputy later says, "You're going to get arrested too." Later in the video, another person in the room appears to take over the cell phone recording, and CJ is handcuffed and slammed into a wall by the deputy. Firemen said Emmanuel and CJ were arrested for disorderly conduct and taken to a juvenile detention. Emmanuel was originally charged with disorderly conduct, but that case has since been dismissed. I'd like for people to imagine this is their child, and this is the worst crap, that I've heard of in a long time, man. You talking about a grown man, look like he probably weigh about 300 something pounds. Look at this asshole. Look at this total asshole. Look at this asshole. This is him on top of the kid with no arms and no legs. All right, you're a big hero, man. You're a big hero. Yeah, you punk bastard. And see, that's the kind of stuff that when these young people wake up out here in the streets, it's gonna be a real problem. It's gonna be a real problem. Right now they sleeping. So this story here, I'm gonna try to run through this one real quick, and it's about a Georgia man that was executed for a 1994 killing of a store clerk in I believe it was Atlanta, Georgia. I can get his name to come up here. Ray Jefferson Cromartie, 52, was pronounced dead at 10:59 Wednesday after injection, lethal injection. Cromartie was convicted and sentenced to die for the April 1994 slaying of in Thomasville near Georgia-Florida line. The state said Cromartie had also shot and gravely wounded another convenience store clerk days before the killing. Cromartie, when asked if he had any last words, declined to make a statement. He did allow a prayer to be recited on his behalf. However, once the drugs began flowing, the inmate took some deep breaths, inhaling before he went still. Cromartie insisted to his attorneys that he didn't shoot either clerk. The defense lawyers had recently asked state and federal courts to allow DNA testing of evidence collected from the shootings, but they say could prove he wasn't the shooter. The state countered that the DNA evidence being sought could not prove his innocence. Oh, wow. So when it's a case that you think you can prove, oh, DNA is the best thing going, but when somebody can prove themselves innocent with DNA, then your statement is DNA evidence being sought could not prove his innocence. Okay. Evidence at the trial showed Cromartie borrowed a handgun from his cousin. He then entered the Madison Street Deli that night and shot clerk Dan Wilson in the face, seriously injuring him. Wilson could not describe his attacker, and surveillance video wasn't clear. Video footage wasn't clear enough to conclusively identify the shooter. Days later, on April 10th, Cromartie and Corey asked Thaddeus Lucas to drive into another store. So, unable to open the cash register, Lucas and Clark testified against Cromartie in September 97 trial that concluded with his death sentence. Cromartie's lawyer had sought DNA evidence, including testing on shell casings from both shootings, clothing found near the first shooting site, and clothing samples. The DNA testing could prove Cromartie wasn't the shooter. His lawyers argued if he wasn't the shooter, he couldn't be guilty of malice murder, the conviction for which he was sentenced to death, their court filings had stated. And as I said earlier, the state district attorney would not allow them to admit the evidence, the DNA evidence, to prove that he was innocent. So you make your own decision on that one. Here's a country situation here that a lot of people kind of neglect, and I'm looking at it closely myself. And the company is called Gentreo, GENTREO.com, Gentreo.com. The leader in elderly care and estate planning was created specifically to help consumers effortlessly create, store, and share wills and estate plans. They provide you with state-specific tools and guidelines to create, store, and share what you need to protect your assets. Create quickly and easily prepare legal documents, power of attorney, healthcare proxy, wills, medical directives, emergency cards. So with Gentrero, if the unthinkable should happen, it won't matter whether your family is sitting in a waiting room or 1,000 of miles away. They will have access to the documents they need to make sure your wishes are known and protected. Julie Fry, co-founder of Gentrero, comments, after spending $10,000 for our family's estate plan, we realized something had to be done. Most families don't have the time or money to go through that process, which leaves them exposed at the whim of some impartial judge, usually at the wake of a tragic incident. Gentrero brings estate planning within anyone's reach. You save time, money, and brings you the same protections you'd otherwise pay thousands of dollars for. That's the first step on our mission to protect 10 million families. So I went to the webpage, and they have estate planning that starts at like $49. So, hey, you don't have no excuses. No excuses now. Well, I can't afford it. You got to get your affairs in order, man. Gentrero, GENTREO.com. That's GENTREO.com. And that's good for estate planning. Estate planning made easy and affordable for everyone. So get your act together, man. You don't need to be having out there going through the motions, man, of the kids out there having car washes and trying to sell chicken dinners, man, just so they can handle your affairs after you're gone. Get it together, folks.